Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Shireen Banakter. I'm a corrective care chiropractor, functional nutrition, and detox specialist. I get to work with some of the world's top athletes, but what I love doing the most is working with my community right here. We have our hormone series coming up because we are leading into a hormone workshop called Mars versus Venus coming up on May 10th, which is a Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. We only have 20 seats available for this workshop, so please make sure that you book those tickets right away. You could do it by either calling the office at 945-888-2988, or you could go ahead to our website at harmonywellness-frisco.com, go to the events page, and get your tickets that way. Today, we're talking about stress hormones, and we're going to talk about what happens when our stress hormones is out of whack. And during our workshop, we are going to talk about how diet affects our hormonal balance. So stress is a major issue. Literally everybody deals with it in one way or another. And chronic stress is a problem like it's never been before. That's why it's so vital to make sure to keep your stress in check. So we're going to talk about what stress hormones are. When we talk about stress hormones, everybody thinks about cortisol because that's on top of everybody's list. There is a good reason. It is the primary stress hormone after all. It is released when we're under huge amounts of pressure, and it triggers our fight, flight, or freeze survival response. However, cortisol is not the only stress hormone, and truthfully, it may not even be the most important of the stress hormones. This title could be reserved for insulin, which is why when you come to our office, when we start looking over how your brain and spinal cord works, we'll be taking x-rays for corrective care, but also when we are looking at lifestyle changes for you, measuring insulin levels is one of the things that we look at. While most people think of diabetes when they discuss this hormone, insulin is not only related to weight gain, PCOS, low testosterone, and of course to our blood sugar levels, but it's a hormone that is released when we're under huge amounts of stress. Insulin affects almost every other hormone in our body and certainly has a major impact on stress. I used to think that oxytocin was the master hormone. And if you would consider the oxytocin, let's say the dean of the university, the professors would be insulin and cortisol, and the student body is the rest of the hormones. So one of the things we work out when we talk about lifestyle changes is looking at balancing our insulin levels. There are other stress hormones besides cortisol and insulin, of course. So you're looking at adrenaline, you're looking at norepinephrine, you're looking at catecholamines, you're looking at things like vasopressin. There is also the gonadotropins, the thyroid hormone, the growth hormone, and prolactin. So how does diet affect our hormones? One of the biggest things in terms of diet that is really throwing our hormones out of whack today is definitely sugar. The brain fog, the memory loss, the increased risk of dementia, all of those are coming from a diet that is high in sugar that creates insulin surges and insulin resistance. So we have a harder time using glucose than we've ever had before. The second thing that we're actually practicing, and many of the hormonally disruptive women and men have it, it's that whole 3 meals, 3 snacks a day. And I'm going to tell you that when they started recommending that, it came with a research that showed that if you ate more meals, that you would burn a few more calories during the day. And so the idea behind it about 30 years ago was that if you ate more meals and snacks, you would lose weight faster. That is not the case. There are some people that do require frequent eating, but most of us really just require to intermittent fast, eat very little carbs, and make sure that we have measured protein and high amounts of fat, especially if we are having hormonal issues. That snacking habit really wreaks havoc on stress because of the way that it affects the stress hormones. When we snack, it bumps up our insulin levels, which affects the rest of our hormones, and insulin goes up every time we eat. The more we snack, the more insulin goes up, and it helps to create that insulin resistance. It also creates a roller coaster for hormonal balance with large fluctuation affecting everything from our mood to our gut health and, yes, to our stress levels. So how do we eat to beat stress? One of the number one things that I want to do when we talk about it, and we talk about it in our hormone workshop, and I will have a one-on-one where we talk about we need to break up with sugar, which is probably one of the most valuable gifts you can give to yourself. You want to practice intermittent fasting. That won't come very quickly. That comes only when you're keto adapted. There are many benefits to intermittent fasting. That includes managing and helping our stress. Going without food for an extended period of time really puts the body in ketosis, switching from using glucose to the fuel to fuel the brain to using ketones to fuel the brain. You always, of course, want to keep at least 4 hours in between meals because you need to get your body sensitized to glucose. Now, you could follow a green keto diet. That is probably one of the best things. There are many ways to do keto. And I know that some of the ketos are not clean. They include a lot of dairy in them, and you want to stay away from non-clean ketos. The best way to get that metabolic stability is to do a green keto. You want to monitor your urine pH levels. And when you're my patient, that's one of the things that we do. I will teach you how we're monitoring that so that you can become keto adapted. And of course, you want to pinpoint your outside stresses. It's not just about what you eat. It's also about who you're eating it with. And are they stressing you out? If that's the case, it doesn't matter how amazing your food is. We want to talk about avoiding toxins. So what are we? Okay, let me make sure. We are what we ate. That's what I wanted to say. It is important to consider that not just what they ate, but how they lived and how they died. And that comes into play with additional stress hormones getting into our system. And that really affects our physiology. So you want to avoid foods that are sprayed with herbicides and pesticides, along with animals that have eaten the foods that contain the harmful toxins. Why? Because they act as endocrine disruptors that throw our hormones out of balance. So we know it. And another thing is, I don't want you to eat too late. We know that if we eat after 7 p.m., our body's going to increase more of that insulin hormone, as much as 30 to 70% in some of us, as compared to the same meal that we ate before 7 p.m. And that is huge. So what are some of the things you could add to your diet today that would help with your stress hormones? Eat more vegetables. Add more fiber. You want to add a lot of healthy fats like olive oil, avocados, MCT oils, coconut oils, wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, bison. You want to add omega-3 fish oils. You want to make sure that it's a high quality. It contains EPA, DHA, and DHEA. You want to add adaptogens, things like maca root, ashwagandha, rhodiola, ginseng, turmeric. You want to I was going to say melatonin, but I'm going to hold off on that one. You want to add magnesium, and you want to add vitamin D. You want to make sure that when you wake up, you drink some water that alkalines your body. You want to make sure that you break your fast with things that include vegetables and proteins. And we'll talk about what it looks like, or what it should look like with your system to balance those hormones. So for those of you that enjoyed this, please give us a like. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, but most importantly, make sure that you make the time to come into our hormone workshop coming up May 10th from 6 to 8 p.m., where we're going to go over what hormone balances look like, what causes the hormone balances, and what are some of the things you could do to help yourself naturally. Again, my name is Dr. Shireen Benactor. Thank you for watching our video from the Talk with a Doc show. And please go ahead and reach out to us. You can go ahead to our website and see any of these things that we talked about at www.harmonywellness-frisco.com. God bless. Remember who you are.